It's quarterfinals! It's time to make history!
We're in the regional finals of the UIL state playoffs, and every game is tough from here on out. Tonight on High School Scoreboard Live, we have the upsets, the blowouts, and the dominating individual performances that are a part of the fabric of Texas high school football. It's Scoreboard Live, the Saturday night playoff edition, and it starts now. Welcome into the Emmy Award-winning Scoreboard Live, starring the guru, Craig Way. I'm his sidekick, Rick Renner. We've reached the state semifinals in 11-man football, and we know who's playing for state championships at AT&T Stadium next week in 6-man football. We had 7 defending champs, all in the hunt coming in. Who would survive?
You know, one of the great things about state quarterfinal week, Rico, is the fact that not only do you have outstanding teams who are playing their 4th postseason games, in several cases, 3 this weekend, you had rematches in state quarterfinals of 2 teams from the same district. So that adds a little extra spice to it. An awful lot of fun going into this quarterfinal weekend.
All right, who was the last team to beat the Allen Eagles in the playoffs? Give up? Euless Trinity in the second round of 2011. But Allen is the 2-time defending champion, riding a 40-game winning streak with the nation's best player, Kyler Murray. And yet this Trinity team is looking an awful lot like the ones that won titles in 05, 07, and 09. Notice their odd years. 2 DFW powerhouses that combined for 6 titles in the last decade. We pick it up in the third. Trojans up 7. And the Eagles, Trinity quarterback Tyler Nady looking for 6, but is intercepted by Allen's Jalen Jones. Defense proves to be huge in this one. They would capitalize. Kyler Murray getting it out of his hands quickly to Jalen Guyton, who's going to Notre Dame. And look at that move, and he'll tiptoe down the sidelines and get in for the 30-yard touchdown. We are all knotted at 27-all. 4th frame now, still tied until Allen kicker Sawyer Williams boots it through from 26 yards out. The 2-time defending state champs back on the high side. One last chance for Trinity. Nady will heave it as far as he can into the end zone. The Hail Mary, it's picked off. What an ending. Allen wins 30-27 and plays the winner of Dallas Skyline and Klein Oak.
Funny you should mention those two, Rick, because we move on to Region 2's championship, and it is Skyline against Klein Oak. And look at this big pass, Kylan Johnson to Carlos Strickland, 50 yards plus, sets it up for the score. Skyline pulls away in the second half. They win it 38-20.
To Houston, and a team that came out of nowhere to go 13-0, the Dickinson Gators and Cy Ranch. And that's Chandler Thomas taking the handoff and getting the corner into the end zone. Cy Ranch up 17 late in the third. After 2 scores, Dickinson with the ball looking to get the win. Cameron Martin finds Jordan Myers, and Oscar Myers, he's brought down as the clock ticks off. Cy Ranch holds on to win at 31-28, ends a great run by the Gators. To
the Region 4 championship, Friday night action, Converse Judson taking on San Antonio Reagan, and look at this snap, closing minutes of the half. That 5-snap fielded, and then Luke Mitchum on the catch for the touchdown for Reagan. Game tied at 17 in the 4th. However, Williams looking and throwing, connecting. Michael Akai with a big catch and the run. 52 yards for the touchdown in the lead. Judson goes on to win it in tight fashion, 34-24. The Rockets move on to the Final 4.
So here's how it all looks out in 6A Division I. What a story the Judson Rockets are. They started the season at 1-3, and they're gunning for their 7th title, 13th championship game appearance. Dallas Skyline is next for Allen. Skyline is trying to become the first DISD team to win a title in 64 years.
Well, we know they've had opportunity certainly in some prior seasons. And what more can you say about Allen? They continue to find a way to advance. Another late field goal to win it for the Eagles to move on. And then in the bottom half of the bracket, Cy Ranch, great story out of the greater Houston area, reaching their first ever state semifinal round to take on those Judson Rockets.
You know, and a big shout out to the Reagan Rattlers who made it all to the quarters with a 3rd-string quarterback. When you look at that Final 4, who do you think is going to be in Arlington?
Well, I've been saying all along, how do you pick against Allen? Skyline will tell you, hey, we know how to beat them. We can beat them with our offense. We can beat them with our defense. But Allen just continues to find a way to persevere. And in the bottom half of the bracket, Judson has done a great job They've been very consistent throughout the course of the season, but in the postseason, turning it on in the second half to win games. So Allen and Judson maybe, but I'll tell you what, Skyline definitely, and Sirens will have something to say about it.
We'll break down the Class 6A Division II bracket later on. Coming up next on Scoreboard Live, 5A Division I, John Tyler and Ennis making some Friday night statements and destined for a championship game run. But number 1 Aledo has other ideas. Highlights and reaction after this.
High School Scoreboard Live is brought to you by Ford. The Dream Big Sales event is going on now at your Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. By DQ, the stop sign of Texas. For the best treats, eats, and drinks in Texas, stop at DQ. And by State Farm. Visit texas.statefarm.com today to get to a better state.
Hey, look out for the Vandegriff Vipers, who are scoring 50 points a game in the playoffs, taking on Austin LBJ. That's Avery Action Jackson faking the handoff, makes a defender miss, and he is off to the races. A touchdown for LBJ. We pick it up in the fourth, though, and the Vipers are looking to go up for good. Jamie Hudson will throw against his body, finds Alex Fernandez all alone, and the Vipers hold on to win it 40-35 in advance to the state's Final Four.
Also, 5A Division I Region 2, John Tyler High and McKinney North. This one, however, all Cujo. The Lions barking early and often. It's Jeremy Wilson on the handoff, and he's gone. 227 yards for the youngster. And then later, it's Gio McAllister, and he'll look for Damian Miller on the go route. He'll find him. Lions roar big time. They pull away to win it 64-40. So those are a couple of the matchups. And you look at the semifinals there, Aledo to take on John Tyler, top half of the bracket in 5A Division I. Temple, number 2 in the state all season long, and they will take on those Vandegriff Vipers, making their first ever appearance in the state semifinal. We're pleased to welcome to the program Drew Sanders, who started this Vandegriff program. 5th season as you get it going, and congratulations, Drew. What does this win mean for the 4 Points community and everybody who is all a part of Vandegriff Viper football?
Well, man, it's amazing to think that we started as a JV team in 2009, and here we are playing in the Final Four, and it means a lot, as you can imagine. I've never seen so many people in black and silver in the stands today, and we were loud and rowdy, and everybody's excited. We went out to eat after the game, and it was like the whole community was there. So we're going to all make the trip to the Alamo Dome.
Coach, what did it do for you being in that unbelievably competitive 25-5A? Interesting that you and 2012 champ Cedar Park are still alive right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just every single week is a playoff game. And what we've done is we've found out how to win close games. And that has really helped us as we've moved throughout the playoffs.
Drew, I want to get your thought. I know you're still celebrating as you should. You know much about Temple? I know you guys have been scouting the Wildcats. How much do you know about Temple as you get ready?
Well, I know that Coach Spradlin has done a great job resurrecting that program. That's number one. I've heard that they've got a quarterback that's committed to Baylor, and so obviously he's probably pretty good. But we haven't even done all the tape trade or anything else. That'll be tomorrow, but we'll soon find out about them. Another really quality program with lots of tradition.
Thanks, Coach Sanders. Continued success and good luck against high-powered offense of Chad President and Temple. All right, meanwhile, in 5A Division II, 2 teams who overcame horrible starts. Ennis overcame an 0-2 hole and then rattled off 12 straight wins, including revenge on Mansfield Timberview, while South Oak Cliff started 0-3, and then they started pounding people, 600 points to 139 in 10 straight wins. Something's got to give. Sock is scoring nearly 60 a game after that 0-3 start. And here they are in this great battle. Inside handoff to D. Wilson, who gets in for the first score. And then Devin Smith would get into the act to the all-stater receiver, Donta Thompson. And the Lions do it with offense and really good defense. They look like they're the team to beat. They win it 31-14.
All right, let's check out Region 3 action. Crosby and Hutto. The Cougars' Craig Williams on the handoff and turning the corner there, like in the flash of an eye there in San Marcos. He'll go down the sidelines and in for the score, and he wasn't close to finish as well. And you know, you could just do this in strobe activity and just see how good the Cougars look, how fast they are. They do have to hold on to prevail to beat Hutto 31-25 to move to the semifinals.
2012 champ Cedar Park is on a roll after barely squeaking into the playoffs up against Kerrville-Tivy. Third play of the game, and it's Thomas Hutchings, 45-yard TD run, 7-0. Timberwolves 43 seconds in, and you get that strobe effect and know they're good. And then in this second, more from them as the quarterback, Amir Alzer, would do it on the keeper, 34 yards, and it's 45-21 over the Fighting Johnny Manziels.
I'll tell you what, you look at the 5A Division II bracket, Rick, and you've mentioned Ennis, rightly so. We've talked about Crosby. We've talked about Cedar Park, former champion. The one team we haven't mentioned is making history. Canutillo, out of the El Paso area, for the first time ever, a county school out that way has reached the semifinal round of the 5A state playoff.
How about Cedar Park really figuring things out? You know, we talked to Coach Sanders about how competitive 25-5A is, which really got these guys ready for the tournament. Cedar Park is scoring 50 points a game in the playoffs.
That's what turned the season around, really, for the T-Wolves, because they struggled early in the season with their offense, even though the defense was playing pretty well. Seems like a long ago forgotten memory that they were actually shut out by Dripping Springs very early in district play. But Joe Willis got those guys galvanized. They turned their offense around, and that's why they might be the most dangerous team in 5A heading into the semifinal round. But wait a minute, didn't we mention Ennis? And there's those other two teams there.
Everybody is state championship worthy in that bracket. All right, let's take a break. Coming up next, some surprises in Class 4A. Previous #1 Stephenville had their hands full with the Graham Steers in a stampede. Two schools separated by an hour-and-a-half drive. Highlights and who advances next.
We move it on to Class 4A Division I in Region 1, Stephenville and Graham. First, it's Texas Tech-bound quarterback Jarrett Stidham, who connects with Austin Struffelbein. Breaks a tackle into the end zone for Struffelbein for the touchdown. But the Steers storm back. It's Landry Turner to Todd Parker for 6. And how about this? Graham eliminates Stephenville 35-24. They'll face, well, who will they face, Rico?
The winner of Argyle and Liberty Ilo. Of course, Argyle, the defending state champ at Texarkana. How's this for some fireworks? Damon Freeman going deep to Malcolm Gant, and he catches it in stride, is off to the races for an 80-yard touchdown, and the Leopards go ahead. But you can't get enough of this guy. Nick Ralston, 38 carries, 214 yards, a whopping 5 touchdowns, and he willed the Eagles to a 45-42 win. They have now won 30 in a row. This bracket's got some heavyweights here, Craig. Yeah, you got the defending champ in Argyle, but how about #1 Navasota? Their quarterback, Shelton Epler, he's unbelievable. He's a 4,500-yard passer.
Think about the contrast you have there, Rick, because you've got Epler, who throws the ball all day long, and then you have Liberty Hill, Jerry Vance's team, getting past district rival Burnett to move into the state semifinal round, and they run the ball, and then for want of something better to do, they run the ball.
Yeah.
So it's a ground and pound for Liberty Hill going up against that high-flying aerial assault from Navasota.
And it usually seems like the ground game works more. We've seen that with the Wing T and the Mason Punchers and some of the other schools because nobody runs the ball anymore.
Absolutely. And the thing about Argyle and Graham is that they're both capable of doing that. Well, two other teams capable of moving it on the ground or through the air would meet in 4A Division II. Region 1 championship on the line. Sweetwater's Mustangs have been unbeaten and blowing teams out, taking on the Salina Bobcats, who kind of quietly have mowed down a lot of the opposition. Now in the second quarter in this one, Sweetwater on the move. Kagan Jeffrey to Bray Amos in the corner of the end zone. Sweetwater within 3 points. But just too much from the orange on this one. Nathan Elliott for Salina. Scrambling out of the pocket. He'll keep his balance and then finds a streaking Chase Marler with the leaping catch. In the end zone, Salina wins a shootout, 41-34 to move on to the semifinal round.
The team to beat in 4A D2, the Gilmer Buckeyes, who continue the perfect season with the ATL. After a long Atlanta pass, running back Daquan Allen takes it in for 6. Game tied at 7. Then Gilmer would respond. Quarterback Blake Lynch who is a newcomer, and he's good to keep her up the middle. And Gilmer's up 7. And then they would expand the lead. Star running back Chris Boyd fills the void with the handoff. Gilmer defeats ATL and advances to face Skyline in the semis.
And then, of course, 4A Division II in Region 4, Sinton's Pirates in action as they would take on the Yoakum Bulldogs. Yoakum looking to put it in the end zone, stuffed by Colton Kohea and the Sinton defense. Later, it's Kohea again. This time on offense. And watch this move right here. Whoop! Right over the top of the defender, on his way to the end zone. Touchdown for the Pirates. Sinton knocks out Yoakum to go on to the state semifinal round. So, with Sinton with the win, there's your bracket there. Salina and Gilmer talk about state championship pedigree of those two. And West Orange Stark, which blasted LaGrange to take on Sinton in the Final Four.
A lot of bling in that state championship game right there. Look at those guys. It's a state title game before the state title game. West Orange Stark, great defense. They've held opponents to just 10 points. And how about Sinton? Normally a baseball school, proving they can play a little pigskin.
Yeah, I think they did took full advantage in Region 4. Maybe West Orange Stark, the most impressive performance of the weekend of those quarterfinal victories, not only defeating an undefeated LaGrange team, but blowing them out to win 42-7. I think that's the biggest shock, the fact that they dominated the Leopards the way they did.
Gilmer, Salina, who do you like?
Last one with a football, maybe? I mean, it's that close. Both of these teams can move the ball. Like I said, they can both do it through the air and on the ground, both winning shootouts. They put a ton of points on the board.
Let's take a timeout. Coming up next, it's back to 6A. Huge showdown at the DF Dub at SMU. Defending state champ Cedar Hill up against 13-0 Southlake Carroll. It's a game for the ages. Highlights and reaction next. To SMU, 6A Division II showdown between unbeaten Southlake Carroll and defending champ Cedar Hill. We pick it up in the fourth. Longhorns with the ball. Avery Davis fakes the handoff right up the middle. 62 yards for the score. Not bad for a backup quarterback. Cedar Hill up 45-35 after the missed two-point conversion. Then the Dragons have some fire left. Quarterback Ryan Agnew hits Parker Fentress down the field, shakes off a defender. The score now 47-41, Cedar Hill. Momentum, Dragons. But punts usually don't make highlights. They do here because it's a fake. DeMarcy Perry gets the direct snap, gets the big first down, and then 2 plays later, Aka Cedric Ware. He's going to Southern Cal. He'll go 54 yards. Cedar Hill wins big, 62-42.
Huge win there. And then, of course, the Region 4 Championship, 2 teams that have drawn their share of accolades during the course of the year. Even as Brennan drew a lot of the attention early on, it still came down to Cibolo Steel taking on Brandeis for the Region 4 Championship out of the San Antonio area. And for Brandeis, the Broncos came out swinging. And this one, Jalen Dukes, wide open, 90 yards. On the run for the touchdown, the Broncos up 7-0 just 4 minutes into the game. Steel trailed for much of the game, but mounted a fourth quarter comeback. L.G. Williams rolling out, and he'll take it in. And the Knights win it 31-28.
They're still jumping around. Jump around. Hey, one of the most compelling matchups this weekend, undefeated U the Manville against an angry Katy Tiger team. The mighty Tigers pounded Manville last year in the regional final. Katy has been on a mission since getting beat by the Woodlands in week number 3 and bounced from the top 10. They've scored 57 points a game in 11 straight wins. Friday night, more of the same. The Rodney Anderson Show. Playing at theaters everywhere. He'll go for an 80-yard run here in the second quarter. That puts Katy up 17-7. He had 25 carries, 302 yards, 3 scores. Not bad for a night's work for a 2,000-yard rusher. Mavericks answer with Devin Penniman, 43 yards on the sweep here, and it's tied at 17 late in the third. Do we have a ball game? Well, not really. Watch this next play as Katy makes magic. From the quarterback position, Garrett Doran somehow escapes 2 pass rushers, then cuts to the left. What a scramble. He scores, and that's the backbreaker. Katy rolls 45-17 to move into the state semifinals. So here is the Final Four in 6A D2, Craig. Two huge matchups. It's like state title games before the state championship game.
Absolutely. You look at all four of those teams, certainly capable of winning the state title. And, of course, both Cedar Hill and Katy, each one went away from a rematch and meeting for the third time in a championship matchup.
Let's bring in a big friend of the show, Joey McGuire, the genius coach of the Cedar Hill Longhorns, who continues to hurt his TV career with all this winning because he's playing for trophies. Joey, you joined us on the phone now. Great win over South Lake Carroll. There was a point in this game in the fourth quarter where you had a 5-point lead and run a fake punt at midfield to get it, and you got it. I just want to know, are you crazy?
I think everybody in the stands and everybody in Cedar Hill thinks I'm probably crazy, but, they had all the momentum, and, that play, we felt like we had to steal it back. I just felt like that if we hadn't have converted for that fourth down, to get that first down, that they would have taken the lead. And, we haven't run that fake this year. We've run some other ones, but that's the first time we run it to the right, and they gave it to us, and well, it was a close spot. We got the first down, and then it was the Cedric Ware show after that. A couple of plays, like you said, and we're in the end zone.
Joey, the one thing that comes to mind is not only on the fake punt call, but in fourth quarter games, because you've got a veteran ball club that wins and knows how to win. How much confidence do you sense in your guys that they can execute plays like that so it makes it easier for you to make a call like that?
We do have a veteran offense. I mean, it's guys that, some of them have played their 46th game in 3 years today, and that's a lot of football. And so, we feel that we're a really high-powered offense and physical. And then the guy that got the first down, he's a two-year starter for him and played great in the state game to Marcia Perry last year. So I have a lot of confidence in him. And, one thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to give the ball back to Carroll. Man, they were scoring in bunches and one-play drives. A lot of that was my fault and some of the stuff I got us in defensively, but our kids fought out of it and pulled out a great win.
Thanks, Joey. Continued success. Don't worry. There's always a TV career for you when you retire some 50 years from now. Craig, as you look at these state semis in 6A Division II, how do you see this playing out?
Well, like we said, there's a lot of state championship pedigree on the part of all these. Now, Cedar Hill is going to have to go down I-35 to Georgetown next Saturday afternoon in that semifinal round to be able to advance past Spring Westfield and move on to the state championship round. Meanwhile, on that other side of the bracket, you've got Cibolo Steel and Katy. Again, two teams, each have won championships in the past few years, and Katy knows what it's like. Katy is right now the hottest team in the state in 5A only because they had their loss very, very early. But then again, so too did Cedar Hill against a really good Skyline team that's still playing in the D1 bracket. So they could be on that historic collision course.
Let's take a timeout. Coming up next, we will check on the defending state champion Cisco team and a ridiculous run in 3A Division I. Plus, Blanco fills in the Blanco into the Final Four. 4 games in the regular season, but won't lose again. Gets revenge on Rockdale. Check out Reed Nickerson finding Corey, Smith, 62-yard score. Then Rockdale responding. Davion Ford with the handoff and in there. After a punt, Rockdale driving again. John Washington picks off Dylan McCartney, 58-yard pick six going the other way. Yeoman's work, 44-25 over Rockdale, advancing to the Final Four.
So into the state semifinal bracket there, and you see Yo on the bottom against that inspired Edna Ball Club, which has lost 5 games this season. Those two have lost 9 games between the two of them. And Shallow Water into the Cinderella run of Brock by winning by a point to take on Mineola, which has moved in by knocking off Pilot Point and Pottsboro in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, that Etna story is just amazing. They lost a defensive player who died in a fire trying to save his siblings. 5 of the 6 kids in that family passed away in a mobile home fire, and they are playing in his inspiration and still kicking in the playoffs.
Absolutely. A 10-4 against the 9-5. That's 3A Division II. Now, 3A Division I, rather. Now we move on to 3A Division II, and the number 1 team in the state will be in action, and that is Cisco, the Lobos. Number 1 in the state, a defending state champion, taking on Sonora. No problem, right? Tyler Massey tricks the defense. Cisco's up 14 in this ball game. state championship pedigree, right? But here comes Sonora on 4th down. Andres Acevedo takes it in. Yes, in for the touchdown. Sonora with the stunner. They knock out defending state champion and number 1 Cisco 36-35. On to 3A Division II in Region 4. It's Blanco Friday night matchup with the Odom Owls. Michael Everett in the Hunter Rodriguez. Johnny on the spot for the touchdown for Odom. The Panthers respond. Big Colton Elrod on the pitch. In for the score, virtually untouched. Blanco's been untouched this year. They win 55-34, and the Panthers are moving on to the state semifinal round in D2. And there's your D2 bracket.
Yeah, you know, you look at it in the state semifinals, look at this hour here, just an absolute stunner as defending state champ, number 1 Cisco going down, like you said. And with that, you kind of think that this thing is wide open for everybody else.
I do think it's wide open when you look at those matchups there. Sonora is a big surprise, although they've been solid. They're out in that part of the state of Texas, out there in Sutton County, which sometimes, Rico, we refer to as one of the, at least in terms of being able to get enough video out for this show, kind of in the black hole area out there. Mason out there and some of the other ones as well. Wall out there to see, but really good football played out there. And in Sutton County, Sonora's been playing good football. They're going to run into an East Texas juggernaut, however, in Wascom in the state semifinal round.
So who's your odds-on favorite to win that bracket?
Well, you look at both of those brackets, both the top and the bottom, and it's going to be very, very difficult to pick a champion. How can you pick against Sonora when they knocked off the number 1 team in the state? But it is going to be hard to pick against them. And Blanco, you got to like them, except Newton coming out of that deep East Texas region, blowing out opponents all season long. That game, I think, is going to decide your state champion.
Wow. All right, break time on Scoreboard Live. Coming up next, a huge upset in Class 2A. Or was it? The Mason Punchers weren't pulling any punches against State Power Refugio. Highlights and reaction next.
We drop down the classification ladder, 2A Division I. It's chock full of state-ranked teams, like Abernathy. First quarter, however, it is Abernathy intercepted by Canadians Sawyer Cook. And Canadian, also state-ranked. In fact, number 3 in the state. They go up early, and they do not look back. Here, Tanner Schaefer around the corner, in for the touchdown, and they blow out Abernathy 62-14 to go to the Final Four.
In South Texas, possibly the best matchup, no matter what the classification. The battle of the unbeatens in number 5 Mason, the Punchers, and number 1 Refugio. Both won titles in 2011. In different classifications and divisions, but it's Refugio that has been a perennial power. 118 wins and 9 losses in the last 8 years. But throw the records out the window. This is the state semis, and that's Jalen Mascaro with the pump fake, and he will throw it to Robert Frazier, and the laser is in for the score. And you could have given Mason more than a puncher's chance in this one on the ground pound attack, because they got it done. They win it 24-20. They will get Centerville next. So here is how 2A Division I plays out. We were hoping for a Refugio-Mart matchup in Arlington, but now, how about a Mason-Mart showdown? But don't sleep on Canadian and Centerville.
Yeah, here's the thing. Had Alto won the game over Centerville, what you would have had was an incredible rarity, because you still would have had 4 top 10 ranked schools playing in the state semifinal round. Centerville was having none of it, however, and so they knock out Alto. You still have 3 top 10 teams in the state semifinal round. Now, we've been saying all season long that 2A Division I was absolutely chock full, loaded with state-ranked teams, and they're still living up to that, even with Mason, who was number 5 in the state, knocking off top-ranked Refugio. Mart, of course, number 2 in the state. And then, as we mentioned, Canadian, number 3 in the state. So you still have 3 top 10 AP ranked schools meeting in the state semifinal round. And like you said, don't sleep on Centerville either. These should be 2 fantastic state semifinal matches.
You know, Coach Herring at Refugio getting a lot of heat after this one. He says Mason's wing T can lull you to sleep. They only average 60 passing yards a game. They run you to death, and then they surprise you with the play action. They threw for over 100 yards in this one.
Here's the whole key. If you have a good offensive line, and the Punchers do, and you can run the ball effectively, then you can turn around and deliver a knockout punch no pun intended, with a play action pass. Mason's been doing it all season long. We mentioned Liberty Hill likes to run the football. They could throw it if they want, but they prefer to run the football, and still comes down to a lot of that blocking and tackling. If teams can run the ball effectively, they're going to continue to advance in the state playoffs. And I'll tell you what, I absolutely love this matchup between Canadian and Mart. They're going to play in Wichita Falls next Friday night to see who gets back to the state championship round. And like we said, the Mason-Centerville matchup will be a lot of fun as well.
Mason looking to get a title again. Last time, 2011. All right, let's take a break. Right around the corner, the DQ Big Game of the Week featuring unbeaten Dallas Skyline and surprising Klein Oak. Who wants to get to the Final Four? Details, notes, and quotes next. There's still time to get out and vote for the High School Rotary Lombardi Award. The winner will be announced on December 10th at the Bayou Music Center in downtown H-Town. This year's ceremony will be broadcast on Fox Sports Southwest. Patty Smith is all over it. For tickets or to vote, all you have to do is visit RotaryLombardiAward.org.
Now, when the state championship weekend kicks off in a couple of weeks, the first game to kick off at 10 in the morning will be the 2A Division II championship round. Tenaha hoping to be there. The Tigers against Iola in that Region 3 matchup at D2. Big touchdown pass. T.J. Thomas to Seth Wyatt. Tenaha with its 4th regional title in 4 years. They now take on powerhouse Bremond in the state semifinal round. All Bremond has done all season long is win. They've been ranked in the top 10. Top half of the bracket, very intriguing. Seagraves, kind of overlooked because of the other powerhouses up in Northwest Texas, like Canadian and Abernathy. And Albany's been state ranked there in the Big Country region, so the Lions have been a formidable team. That's going to be an excellent state semifinal matchup.
What about Tenaha? This is 4 consecutive years with regional titles. Kids graduate, it doesn't matter, they're still right there.
Had some rocky points during the season, but found a way in a tough district to be able to fight their way through, and they really found their legs once they got to the playoffs. And like we said, they're going to play Bremond all season long. I've mentioned the fact that Bremond was one of the best teams in the state, and they've been unheaded, so that's going to be a great matchup in the semifinal round.
Well, let's revisit a couple powerhouse matchups that we had at San Antonio and Houston. We start with Steele and Brandeis.
Yeah, you know, Steele, of course, gave up the big early touchdown run to the Broncos, the 90-yard touchdown run to help Brandeis jump out 4 minutes into the ball game. But Steele kind of, well, they steeled themselves. They really pulled it together. They had the big touchdown run and then held on. They end up winning 31-28. Yeah, all the jumping around for the Knights to move back to the Final Four.
Love that. In Houston, Katy against you, the Manville. Rodney Anderson put on a show. He goes 80 yards here. That put Katy up 17-7. Anderson, 25 carries, 302 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Not a bad night's work for a guy that everybody in the country wants. The Mavs answer with Devin Penniman, who is like cinnamon, very sweet on this sweep. That would tie the game at 17-all. We're thinking we got a ball game. But it was like deja vu all over again like last year this time when Katy just spanked Manville. They win it 45-17. What a great run here by Garrett Dorn, who gets in there, and they move on to the state semis. I've been saying it for a while. Katy is mad. Ever since you dropped him out of the top 10.
I didn't drop him.
Not you, but everybody else did. They have been taking it out on every single team.
I actually kept them on my AP ballot all
I knew you did. I was just going to do it.
And they did go on and win. Now, you look at those two matchups. The Cedar Hill Spring Westfield matchup will take place in Georgetown. So that's a true neutral site matchup. But Katy, which won, you saw the highlights from NRG Stadium in Houston over Manville, they get to play there again. So it's kind of local for the Tigers when they host Steele next week.
Time now to get you ready for the DQ Big Game of the Week. It's Dallas against H-Town. Here's Neil Beasley.
It's hard not to have a great DQ Big Game of the Week when you're this deep into the playoffs, and we've got one. Klein Oak, the Panthers, a brutal non-district schedule coming in, but then they've been destroying people ever since then, obviously, if they're playing this far into the playoffs. Up against, though, one of the top teams in the nation, the Skyline Raiders, a top 10 team in the United States of America, and they literally have been destroying teams from the beginning of the season, 13-0. So it's a great game. It's Klein Oak, and it's Skyline, and it is our DQ Big Game of the Week.
Hey, make sure you go to UIL.org for information on how you can get championship tickets for AT&T Stadium in Arlington. We will broadcast all the games live, but if you want to be there in person, you can get your tickets now at Ticketmaster. Well, the DQ Big Game of the Week features a team that everybody thought would be there against a team that no one thought would be there. Nationally ranked Skyline is rolling at 13-0 and is Dallas ISD's last chance at a state championship run for the first time since 1950. The Carter year didn't count. While Klein Oak have turned it on at the right time. Big-time upsets over Mesquite Horn and the Woodlands. Coach David Smith has them putting up their O's. And Oakham, here's the Beezer.
They are moving and grooving at Skyline High School these days. They're used to great football, but this year has a special vibe and might not end till the end. Coach Reginald Samples, 95-13 over the last 8 years.
Our goal is to be regional champions, and then we're going to go on from there, one game at a time. Thank you for your support.
And number 8 in the national rankings this year.
Watch them jump majors, watch it work!
The largest high school in Texas, also the first magnet school, and rappelling all in their way, 13-0. But over at Klein Oak, Coach David Smith's Panthers, hard to beat. Panthers exciting young and old alike. 11 wins already, their best total. And if the Panthers can drop the Raiders tonight, it's on to the state semis. But if they want this dance to continue, they'll need to believe. But Skyline is where others' hopes go to die. A defense that's given up only 5 touchdowns the entire postseason.
Go chase it, baby.
Led by a ton of Division I athletes, including Anthony Wheeler. Bama and OU already offered, and Rice Owl commit Zach Abercrombie. Brains and brawn there.
Hey, stay on me, stay on 3. 1, 2, 3, stay.
But the home of Olympian Michael Johnson has speed to burn on offense, too. KC Johnson, Arkansas and K-State offers. DeLeon Ward, TCU and Louisville. And Carlos Strickland, a Texas Tech Red Raider. But Oak is ready. A group Coach Smith calls one of the best he's coached in his 34 years. But to beat one of the best teams in the country, you gotta get pumped.
It's in here today. It's all up in here today. Listen up. The teams that are remembered are ones that win in December, baby. Every man on every play runs to the ball. Every man. Remember what's at stake here, man. Remember what's at stake here, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's time to make history. It's time to be the best team this school's ever seen. You get it done today. It's no talking. It's getting it done. You gonna line up. We talk about brotherhood. We talk about the spirit. We talk about chemistry. We talk about loving each other. I told you about my high school team. I told you about growing up. I told you about family. When you're 40 years old, you won't say, yeah, we got it done. Yeah, we got it done. This is what you want. You gonna fight for it. You gonna line it up. You take it home tonight.
First half, Panthers, Oakham. Brandon Blair, 43 yards on the third play. Wham, bam, 7-zip Panthers. Oak misses a chance to go up 10. Then, first play after that, Ward, 74 yards, sets up his own 1-yard touchdown, 7-all. Then after a 9-play Oak drive stalls, this. Johnson to Strickland. Wow, he's in high school? I thought they just flew him in for games. 14-7. But Oak goes on a 15-play drive. Derek Durden, the honors, were tied again, 14-all. But Strickland is strictly amazing. Gets crunched, but hangs on for 6 more. Wow. In fact, Skyline does it again. Just before half, KC Johnson to Savon Rollison. Raiders would add 6 more, 28-14, just 18 seconds before half. But that's plenty of time for Oak. Durden out of his own end zone on the kickoff return. 89 yards, but stopped at the 11, just 3 seconds left. Time for just one play. Jose Blankenship goes back, flushed, lets it fly, and it's caught. Dylan Schur with no time left on the clock. 28-20, got a good one going on at the break.
We will not win this without defense coming to play. Let's go. It starts with the line, with a tip on the floor. We came to play. It feels good, feel great. Let's make something happen.
And that defense does dominate. Blankenship, almost 300 yards rushing last week, 26 carries for 27 yards this week. Then it's DeLeon Emergency Ward, 65 yards here. He gone, 174 yards on the ground and 3 scores. 38-20 at that point, Dallas Skyline Raiders. And that Raider D never lets up. Ball game, a nice win over a scrappy Panther squad. Now sets up that dream matchup with top-ranked Allen.
We couldn't figure out some of the one-on-one matches, and Skyline coaches do a super job. They do a great job coaching, and kids really played well.
Reading the backers. I read the backers. If they flow, I cut back.
And then if we're even, you're leaving, right?
Yes, sir. We haven't been to the 5th round since my freshman year, and I wasn't even on the team. So just to know how much work they put into it, we put that same amount of work, and for us to get to the 5th round, it's a blessing.
There have been kids who've been thinking, Allen, you had to squash that until now.
Until now. And now we don't have to squash it anymore. Allen's a great team. We just feel blessed to have a chance to play them, and we're going to give them 100%.
Hey, there's some folks who think that Allen High School is the best team in the nation. Well, these guys want to prove they're not even the best team in the Metroplex. For producer Clark Rowe, photographer Jeff Irwin, I'm Neil Beasley with your DQ. Big game of the week.
Wow, what a game. You really got to give it to David Smith and the Oakleys. Those guys played so well. A lot of upsets. They battled through that really tough district, and they proved that they were very worthy of getting to this level. Skyline just loaded with talent, and Coach Samples has done a great job of corralling these guys. We could have the first Dallas ISD state championship since 1950?
The first UIL official one, there's no doubt about that. But, of course, Allen would have something to say about that. Allen and Trinity had that big matchup, of course, and one big play out of this matchup. Tied at 27, and it's Allen Sawyer-Williams from 26 yards out to take the lead. That put Allen up 3. Then the defense makes the big play in the end as the interception ends it. So the drive for the three-peat is still alive. What a titanic matchup this is next week. Allen and Skyline.
41 in a row. Allen just keeps on winning. Kyler Murray, 39-0 as a starting quarterback. How about that? All right, let's bring in my partner in crime from Fox Football Friday, Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. Tep, Allen and Skyline, the matchup everybody wanted last year, but Skyline fell short to Westfield, who's still alive, by the way. This time, these two DFW powerhouses meet. Who do you have with the edge in this one?
Oh, geez, I got to pick? I mean, this is a clash of titans as we've been waiting for a long, long time. You've got all the playmakers that Skyline brings, and you've got all the playmakers that Allen brings. It's going to come down to defense, and, you know, Allen's defense has been up and down. It's run a little bit hot and cold, but it's going to end up they're going to need to play their best game yet, because I really do think this is the best team that they've faced. Dallas Skyline can beat you in so many different ways, and what's impressed me the most about Coach Samples' squad this year has been the improvement on the defensive side. They've just found a way to get it done defensively. And, you know, one thing that was interesting is they kind of went about 3 months without playing anybody, and then their last 2 games, they have played very tough opponents, and they have won in convincing fashion. If I have to pick, I mean, you're a fool to pick against Kyler Murray at this point. I expect an absolute classic.
Tep, I want to take you off the grid a little bit and ask you about something that you've been on and been talking about for a few weeks, and that is the formation of history. I'm talking about Canutillo winning late over Everman on the last-second field goal to move into the Final Four. First El Paso school ever to get into the 5A state semifinals.
And, you know, I tweeted it, and I think that people read it as hyperbole, but it's not. That is the biggest win in El Paso high school football history. That is a game changer for the Sun City, and what a year for Canutillo. And it starts with that defense, you know, that Bo Brooks-led defense, and he made the play at the end to seal it. You know, this Canutillo defense can play with anybody,
and now they've won a region title. I mean, they are etched in history now in the Sun City for being the best El Paso team of all time already, and they're not done yet. They're going to have a chance to really shake things up and beat Ennis next week. This is a team that you're just a fool if you doubt. They just find a way to win. They powered through a region that I think was pretty deep and a little underrated, and all of a sudden here they are 2 games away from a state championship, an El Paso state championship team. Are you kidding me? It's already what they've done has been remarkable, but I guarantee you they're not satisfied.
Thanks, Teb. Great stuff. You knew we couldn't give you the week off without talking to you. Check him out at texasfootball.com, the most comprehensive high school website site, or your money back. Check out the DQ Big Game of the Week next week. Mart, who could win it all, Canadian, who could win it all.
Both ranked in the top 4 of the state.
Back in a flash.
Texas by DQ, the stop sign of Texas. For the best treats, eats, and drinks in Texas, stop at DQ. And by State Farm. Visit texas.statefarm.com today to get to a better state.
6-man Division I state semifinals, Kroll and May. Does it sound familiar? They won last year. This is a rematch of the state championship. Next week, Kroll put 100 on the board to beat Valley, 150, and May advancing back to the final. You can watch that state championship next Saturday on FoxSportsSouthwest.com, as well as the Class A Division II state championship game. Groom, Cinderella story for the Tigers to reach the finals against perennial powerhouse Throckmorton in the state championship.
Mr. Cowboy Bob Lilly, who went to Throckmorton, very happy about that one. For Craig Way, I'm Rick Renner. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week as we will find out who's going to be in the state championship games in Arlington on High School Scoreboard Live. Have yourself a great football weekend. Work 44-25 over Rockdale, advancing to the Final Four.
So into the state semifinal bracket there, and you see Yo on the bottom against that inspired Edna Ball Club, which has lost 5 games this season. Those two have lost 9 games between the two of them. And Shallow Water into the Cinderella run of Brock by winning by a point to take on Mineola, which has moved in by knocking off Pilot Point and Pottsboro in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, that Edna story is just amazing. They lost a defensive player who died in a fire trying to save his siblings. 5 of the 6 kids in that family passed away in a mobile home fire, and they are playing in his inspiration and still kicking in the playoffs.
Absolutely. A 10-4 against a 9-5. That's 3A Division II. Now, 3A Division I, rather. Now we move on to 3A Division II, and the